When planning for long-term success, you need to envision your overall goal and then analyze all of the small but necessary steps to achieve that goal. In the last video, we went over Nintendo's missteps before the launch of the Wii U. Go ahead and watch that video before we get into what happened after the release. The first point will be a repeat point from the last video. Nintendo did not advertise the console. Nintendo's pre-release mistake of not advertising could have easily been remedied by running a bunch of commercials shortly after the release of the Wii U, but they still chose to stand aside and let the name sell itself. Because of this, their new system released with no hype both before and after the system launched. This mistake ended up costing them what should have been a successful launch due to the lack of competition from Sony and Microsoft's next-gen systems. This would start a snowball effect that leads into the next topic, third-party support. After the SNES, Nintendo consoles always got the cold shoulder from third-party developers. The early days of the Wii U weren't that great when it came to third-party games, but it was a step in the right direction. The Wii U got games like Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Assassin's Creed 3, Batman Arkham City, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, Tekken Tag 2, Zombie U, and some other third-party games. Unfortunately, most of these games sold horribly, even by the Wii U standards, and those developers eventually gave up on the console. There's three main factors to take in when looking at why these games did not sell. 1. The third-party developers gave us lazy ports of their games. They didn't see a reason to invest a lot of time and effort into porting their games to a Nintendo system where their success was not guaranteed, so the differences in their games on the Wii U versus the 360/PS3 versions were very minimal in all aspects: graphics, performance, and content. The lack of a hard drive was already starting to hurt the Wii U at this point because the third-party developers didn't see a point in putting DLC on the eShop when you only had 32 gigabytes of space and you had to rely on an external hard drive. 2. Nintendo fans don't buy third-party games, or at least they don't buy them on Nintendo systems. Nintendo console owners got so used to not getting third-party games on their platform that the trend continued even when third-party support was there. The community for these games have already been established on Sony and Microsoft's consoles, so why bother getting the Wii U version if all your friends are playing Call of Duty and Tekken on other systems where the games are supported with updates and DLC? 3. The Wii U user base was already very small due to the slow sales that was caused by the lack of ads, so the chances of success for third parties were already extremely slim. The first 2 points create what I like to call an infinite loop. The developers know these games are not likely to sell, so they'll port the games that are just good enough to get by and cross their fingers hoping it will sell. Nintendo fans see the minimal effort and lack of content, and they either buy the better version of the game on a different system, or don't buy it at all. And here is where the infinite loop is born. Both sides are so stubborn and stuck in their own mentality on having it their way that the developers and the Wii U owners end up losing. A perfect example of this is when EA was complaining that Mass Effect 3 had abysmal sales on the Wii U, when the company ended up releasing the Mass Effect trilogy around the same time for $20 less on PS3 and 360. If this loop is going to stop, one of the sides will have to bite the bullet and cave in. In addition to previous points, the Wii U didn't launch with any system seller game. Even to this day, I wouldn't say that the Wii U has any killer app. There's plenty of games where if you have a Wii U, you should definitely get certain games, but there's no game on the Wii U that's so amazing that you need to buy the system for that one specific game. I feel like that there were some games that came close but fell short due to Nintendo's approach to online. Speaking of which, the Wii U's online was pretty weird. Miiverse was interesting and it's fun, but it's also the only way to send messages, meaning you have to close out of your game, open Miiverse, and then check your messages. The notification of the blue light flashing around the home button on the gamepad is also really easy to miss and makes you wish there was an option to have an on-screen notification. And while the Wii U is capable of voice chat, it's restricted to an in-game basis, and even in those certain games, it's very limited. In this day and age where cross-game chat is a standard, this really sticks out as a sore thumb and is one of the reasons why the Wii U is viewed as a kiddie console. The next topic is going to be a not-so-obvious one, the lack of direction. Nintendo was all over the place in what features they crammed into the system. The sensor bar in the gamepad, Nintendo TV, Wii U Street, the remote function, and that random proprietary port at the bottom of the gamepad. They just all feel unnecessary. I'm still scratching my head over what Nintendo's long-term goals for these features were, and it doesn't seem like I'll find out anytime soon. Had these things been used to any meaningful extent, they wouldn't have felt like a waste or hindrance on the console. The next point might be the most important one of all, the negative image the Wii U generated. All of the previous points from both pre-launch and post-release gave the Wii U a lot of bad impressions from gamers, and word of mouth spreads like wildfire. The Wii U is a weak console. The Wii U has no games. The Wii U's online is terrible. The Wii U controller is confusing. It's just an upgraded Wii. While you can make an argument about these statements, nothing will change the fact that that's just how a majority of people and media view the Wii U, and why most people are avoiding the console like it's the plague of gaming. The last reason the Wii U has had a hard time is a lack of support from Nintendo. From the little to no discussion of the Wii U during E3s and Nintendo Directs to the heavy focus on 3DS and Amiibo, and now the NX, it almost seems as if Nintendo was distancing themselves from the system very early on. They still made some quality games for the system, but they didn't go through the lengths that they did with the 3DS when it struggled at launch. The 3DS was on its downward spiral. Nintendo cranked out games for the system and cut the price to the point where they took a loss on each system sold, and then proceeded to give free games to early adopters. When the Wii U was failing at the start, Nintendo just sat by and watched instead of making any real rescue attempt to save the system. The negativity and backlash they got from the media might have stopped them from putting in really any real effort into saving the Wii U. And now that the NX is on its way, Nintendo has basically dropped all support for the Wii U. Honestly, I don't think that any one of these mistakes by themselves would have made the Wii U a failure, but small things add up and can really hurt you in the long run. And collectively, all these mistakes is why the Wii U failed to take off. Hopefully Nintendo has learned from all their missteps with the Wii U and they make the NX an optimal platform for both gamers and developers. But then again, what would I know? I'm just some guy on the internet.